Hi, my name is Ujjwal and I head the design team at Spinny. And today I want to talk about how to build a design system in under 15 minutes using Claude Code and Google Stitch and deploy it completely. But I'm not going to talk about that because that is not the real story. Of course, there are so many things to learn right now with all the new tools and AI coming up, but people are missing the point here. Designers are missing the point here. The game has changed completely. And what I mean by that earlier we were designing inside a design tool where we were thinking about visuals, we were thinking about textiles, typography, and the overall UI of things, and then maybe certain sense of prototyping that we would do. But I saw a lot of designers not doing prototyping on Figma, and a subtle bit of interaction and all of that. But we were limited by our capabilities and the tool's capability to do things within Figma. Now, there is no box limiting us. And you have to realize that there is just no limit to what we can, create. And now we're not creating just static screens, we're creating fully functioning products. Imagine a designer having control over end to end products. What is going to happen? We are UX designers, we're designing experiences. So the experience itself is an end to end experience for a user. It's not like the user is experiencing the visual design differently or separately from the overall product. So if we gain control over the entire product end to end, we have a superpower in our hand. And that's the real story that everybody should focus upon. That designers can do that now. We were not able to do that earlier. I spent 7 days on multiple different AI tools. I was able to even create my own design tool while I was doing that. I created my portfolio, which I posted on LinkedIn. I'll also put that in the description. You can go look at that. That was, done in a couple of hours. It mesmerized me. It made me feel excited about design the first time I learned how to do design in Photoshop back in 2006. And that's the excitement. That's the feeling that if you're not feeling it right now, you should be. A lot of designers are also scared that AI is coming up, it may eat up jobs, it may eat up, and it has started happening in certain fields. But I think a little differently here. Everybody who is impacted by AI directly work within the how aspect of things, how we are building something, how that work is done, that is being automated. Design does not sit on the how side of things. Design sits on the what side of things. What needs to be built? We are the ones making decisions on what product, what screen, what interaction needs to happen. And we've always been doing that. We're not doing that right now. We've been doing that for whatever time we've been designers. We have always been solving for what, which means that design also takes a lot more time. Now imagine if you know the what and you have everything in your hand to do the how, then essentially you can control the entire product yourself, right? That's essentially the story. So how do we prepare for this? How do we train ourselves for this? There are three key things that I would want you to focus on. One, develop great taste. Develop taste in design because that is not something that somebody can learn overnight. Taste gets built when you consume a lot of different kinds of visuals, art, design, when you create mood boards. The second thing is vocabulary. Improve your design vocabulary. You need to understand, let's say what's a radial blur or what's a radial mask or things like that because the AI also understands this language. So if you're able to communicate to any model that this is exactly what I want in the screen to happen, then you will be a better person using that model. And the third, the most important thing is learn how to direct things to AI. And one of the things that I do personally is I don't get my prompts written by Claude or any other model. I write it straight up wherever I want to build things. What that helps me understand is till what limit can I push that model because I'm saying something and it's understanding that and building on top of that. So it improves my writing, and I also learn how to write better. So I understand the capabilities of the model better because I have given it every single prompt. And at times those could be very bare basic, and I'm not going back and looking looking at some of my prompts, but they're very basic language. They're not very complicated, and it's not like that was the first attempt. I tried writing through Claude as well, but I felt that no, this is very distant. That's a very distant way of learning how to use models. So I write my own prompts. I learn from it. I learn what the capabilities of these tools are, and I get better at writing. And that's what you need to do as well. And another thing that you need to do is keep continuously building. So 3 skills I talked about: design, vocabulary, taste, and direction. That is what we need to learn. But how we learn that is by continuously building end-to-end products. So you build it locally in your system, or you deploy it if you want other people to also use it. And all of this is very simple. These terminologies may seem unfamiliar to you because this is new territory, but trust me, it takes one day for a designer or a non-designer to get onboarded to any of these new tools. One day, that's it. But what will separate you? What will separate a designer from anybody else is that you have taste and you know what needs to be built. One last thing that I want to talk about is you see all these great products online and you get overwhelmed that how could somebody think of something like that? That is creativity unleashed while they were building the product. So when you increase the surface, when you go out of bounds from Figma, when you unleash that kind of creativity, you will be surprised by your own self that how far can you push yourself in terms of your thinking. That's it for this video, and I hope you found something useful from this very candid conversation about AI. Again, my name is Ujjwal. My channel's name is Ujjwal X Design. And if you like the video, share it with your designer friend or a non-designer friend, and leave a comment on what you think, of what's happening around in the scene. Thank you, and have a beautiful day.